How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to another episode. My name is Danny, and this is Drinking with a Ginger. Tonight on this episode, I'm going to be drinking a dark German beer called Hofbräu. It was brewed and bottled at the Hofbräuhaus in Munich, Germany. It's a pretty good dark beer. I recommend it. I know there's a Hofbräuhaus here in Vegas, and it's pretty good. They make some good food. Nice German atmosphere. I definitely want to check that out next time the World Cup comes around. Get the actual the hometown vibe, I guess, when watching Germany play. All right, so tonight's episode, I just want to do kind of like a quick recap on the NCAA tournament and also talk about other sports that are going on, and one of the sports that start tomorrow, which is very exciting. It's baseball. Tomorrow is opening day of baseball season. I'm pretty excited. I'm actually going to a game this weekend in LA. I'm going to see the Dodgers play the Diamondbacks. I haven't been to a baseball game in a couple of years, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I haven't been to Dodger Stadium in probably 10 years or so. So I'm interested to see all of the upgrades and everything that they've done over the last couple of years. I know they did some work on the outfield stands, and I believe they installed like a new giant jumbotron or something. So pretty excited to see about that. And me being from Virginia, I'm excited to see how the Nationals will be without Bryce Harper. He was there for, I think like 7 or 8 years. So now that he's gone to Philly, it's time for the young guys to step up. Hoping the pitching rotation can stay healthy this year. And I think Max Scherzer, he's been pitching at the top of his game for the last couple of years. So I'm hoping that he can pitch his way to another Cy Young winning season. I think he got robbed last year by DeGrom on the Mets, but I know other people who think otherwise, even though Scherzer led the league in a lot of the major stat categories, such as strikeouts and innings pitched. But DeGrom ended up winning it, and on to this new season starts tomorrow. So make sure you tune into those games. And then for the college basketball tournament, the first 2 rounds there were a lot of good games. Not many upsets. There were a couple, but nothing too crazy like it has been in the past. Like last year, it's the first time ever that a 16 seed won over a number 1 seed, but that didn't happen this year. I think the only real big upsets were looking at the bracket right now. The only big upset I can really see is UC Irvine beat Kansas State in the first round. I believe that was last Saturday, I think it was. But then UC Irvine ended up losing to Oregon in the second round. There were a couple other seeding upsets, but not really upsets depending on the teams. Oregon beat Wisconsin. Oregon was the 12 and Wisconsin was the 5. And then you had another 12-5 upset. Liberty beat Mississippi State, and Murray State beat Marquette. That was another 12-5 upset. The only 5 that actually got out of the first round was Auburn. They beat New Mexico State. So tomorrow, Thursday, March 28th, will be the kickoff of the Sweet 16. So Sweet 16 is going to be Thursday and Friday, and that gets us down to the Elite Eight, which will take place Saturday and Sunday. And then next week is the Final Four, and that Monday after that is the championship. The season is coming to an end. Started all the way back in October. My bracket looked a little iffy in the beginning round, early on, but I ended coming out in decent shape for the Sweet 16. With the final 16 teams to go into this weekend, I have 12 of them correct. So I feel comfortable, and all of my Elite Eight, Final Four, and championship game teams are all still in it. So we'll see how this finishes out. I have Texas Tech playing Kentucky in the national championship, and I think Texas Tech is gonna end up winning. They look pretty strong. I watched them earlier on in the season when they played Duke, and they looked pretty good up until the end when Duke ended up winning the game. But I have Texas Tech getting their revenge against Duke in the Final Four, and I think they end up beating Duke to go to the national championship. And then on the other side for the Final Four, I have UVA, which is University of Virginia, against Kentucky. And I think that Kentucky is going to end up beating them, and they face Texas Tech in the championship. I'm excited to see these last few games. This is known as March Madness. Hasn't really been too much madness this year. No last second shots or anything, other than what happened in the or at least that I can think of right now. The only thing was the controversial ending to the Duke versus UCF, which is Central Florida, that game on Sunday evening. There were some missed calls at the end of the game that led Duke to taking the lead, and UCF went up for a last-second layup, and the ball just rimmed out, and they ended up losing by 1 point. A lot of people were complaining about that game, which is natural. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people bet on it. They want to see that upset. A lot of people don't like Duke. They always want to see. I mean, it's natural for people to want to see the top teams go down, which Duke did come into this tournament as the number one overall seed for all 68 teams that are in it, and they finished the season as the number one team. So people want to see them lose, and UCF had their center, Taco Fall. He's, by the way, that's a great first name, Taco. He's 7'6", and in an interview the day before the game, he said that he won't end up on Zion Williamson, who is Duke's number one player. Taco said he won't end up on Williamson's highlight reel, and which he's known for all these crazy dunks and jumping super high and from super far away. And Taco won the battle against Williamson. I believe he was even able to get like 1 or 2 blocks on Williamson. No dunks happened, but Duke did ended up winning that game, and they advanced to the Sweet 16. One game that I was kind of shocked about was Auburn and Kansas. I thought that Kansas would be able to get past them and go into the Sweet 16. That was actually one of my misses. I actually had Auburn losing in the first round to New Mexico State, and they ended up beating New Mexico State by 1 point. And the ending of that game was all sorts of messed up. I mean, down 2 points. New Mexico State shooter gets fouled shooting a three, and he misses 2 of the 3, brings it within 1 point. And they go to inbound the ball next to Auburn's basket, and New Mexico State just throws up a random 3, and it was nowhere even close to the rim. And that's how they lost that. So me thinking that New Mexico State was going to move on, I had Kansas beating them and moving on to the Sweet 16, but Kansas ended up just getting completely destroyed by Auburn. They lost by about 15 points. So that was a swing and a miss for me. Another one that I had, just looking at my bracket, trying to figure out where there was another game. I can't remember what it is. Oh, I think it was it Purdue? I think it was the Purdue game, and Purdue played Villanova, and Villanova they're the defending champs, so they definitely started this season pretty highly ranked, and they didn't have, by their standards and by previous year standards, they didn't have a great season. They finished 25-9. They were ranked 6, or they were given a 6 seed coming in to the tournament. They did win their first round game by about 5 points, and then in the second round they just got destroyed by Purdue. They lost by about 25-30 points. So that was a rough game. Another really good game to watch was let me see if I can find it. Oh, the Maryland LSU game. That was pretty good. I actually had Maryland losing in the first round to Belmont, but that ended up not happening. I did get LSU though in the Sweet 16, so I'm happy they were able to get that win. They had a pretty good sized lead at halftime. LSU did, and then Maryland was able to make a strong comeback in the second half, but ultimately LSU ended up winning by 2 with they got a game-winning layup with about 1 or 2 seconds left at the very end of the game. So that was a really exciting finish. But I think these Sweet 16 matchups are going to be a lot of fun to watch. Duke is playing Virginia Tech. They're their own conference rivals. I believe they split the season series this year. I know Virginia Tech beat Duke when Zion Williamson was out. So I know Virginia Tech got at least one of them. I believe they did split the season though. And then another fun one to watch will be Texas Tech and Michigan.
After all these,
that game will. Texas Tech is the number 3 seed in the West, and Michigan's the number 2 seed. So that's going to be a lot of fun. This for the Sweet 16. Out of the 16 teams, all 4 number 1s all 4 number 2s, and I believe, and all 4 number 3s made it to the Sweet 16. And then the other teams are filled with two 4s, a 5 seed, and a 12 seed being Oregon. Oregon's got to play UVA, which is they're a very high-powered defensive team. Not really known for their offense, but they're definitely known for keeping their opponents to a very low score. So Oregon's they're gonna have to be able to shoot the ball when they play on March 28th. So tomorrow, they'll be playing tomorrow, or when you guys hear this, they'll be playing today. And then another conference matchup in the Sweet 16 is Tennessee versus Purdue. Tennessee's a 2 seed. Purdue is the 3 seed. It's always cool when you can get good matchups from the conferences to also go into this tournament. So that, I mean, if there was like really good games between those 2 teams in the regular season and you want to see more, like Duke UNC. UNC did beat them twice in the regular season, and then Duke was able to beat them in the ACC tournament, which I enjoyed. And I had thrown out the idea of Duke versus UNC for the national championship game. I think that would be possibly, now I'm just throwing this out there, I don't know the stats or anything, but I think possibly that might be one of the most watched national championship games ever, especially with this Duke team. I mean, they have 4 freshmen who are all going to be drafted this year. 2 of the 4 are considered top 5 picks, maybe even top 3 picks. Definitely Zion Williamson is going to go number 1. I think teams would be fools if they passed on him. I would say outside of his free throw shooting, he's a very well-rounded player. And I never understood how NBA players could be so bad at free throws. I mean, you're standing at a line. Nobody's allowed to get in your face. You can take your time with the shot. And I don't know if it was just the teams that I played on and the schools I played for, but I know for a fact that every day in practice, we practiced our free throws so that if it came down to it, we would be in a lot better shape by making those free throws. And a lot of games come down to the free throws. And Zion Williamson is, I believe, like a 65 or 68% free throw shooter. So it's not good. He's making about 6 or 7 out of 10. That's pretty bad. And, I mean, a great example of games coming down to free throws just in this tournament, I mean, there's been plenty of them. And the main one I can think about, which, I mean, it went against my pick because they missed their free throws, was the New Mexico State and Auburn game. I mean, New Mexico State lost by 1, and if they had hit all 3 of those free throws from the foul 3-point shot, they would have won that game by 1. So those missed or made free throws can definitely change outcomes of the game. So I'm excited to see what these last few rounds will do. Like I said, at the end of this weekend, we'll be down to the final 4 teams who will play next April 6th, next Saturday. And then national championship is that following Monday on the 8th. And that's played in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm sure it's probably still pretty cold up there, right? I mean, it's technically, oh no, it's not. Yeah, it's not winter anymore. Technically, it's spring, but I mean, with them being that far north, I'm sure it's still pretty cold. I mean, that's pretty much it for me tonight. I did a coin flip bracket just to see how it would do, and it's awful. In the national championship game, I have Michigan playing Abilene Christian, which they got destroyed in the first round by Kentucky. So that's not going too well. The bracket is broken up into 4 groups of 16. It's got a East, South, Midwest, and a West. I don't even know what these are. I guess conferences. I don't know. Just the East bracket, South bracket, Midwest bracket, and the West bracket. And in the Midwest bracket on my coin flip, I missed every single first round game. So that definitely did not get off to a good start. In fact, none of them actually did well at all in the first round, but that was clearly the worst. Yeah, so I like to do coin flip brackets for fun, and obviously I have an actual bracket, and then I keep a third bracket just to follow along so that I don't have to. I mean, I guess it would make more sense to write on my actually filled out bracket of which teams won and moved on, but just to reduce the clutter and not scribble everywhere and have letters running into other letters and words going into other words, I keep a non-filled out bracket so that I can fill it out as I go and just see where all the games are, and I can compare my bracket to the actual live bracket and see how I stack up. Like I said, the Sweet 16, so the last 16 teams, I have 12 of them correct. The only ones I missed was Houston, Auburn, Purdue, and Florida State. I thought Florida State would lose to Murray State, but if I recall, Murray State ended up, they lost by 30. They got destroyed by Florida State. And I remember I was watching that at one of the sports books, and even though Murray State has the second or third best player in the nation, depending on how you look at it, they couldn't do anything with rebounds. Florida State was just a huge team. Murray State was very small, and Florida State just dominated them on rebounds. It was really tough to watch, and Florida State was also able to they were able to get turnovers, and they had a lot of fast break opportunities, and it was really rough to watch. But yeah, like I said, Florida State ended up winning by 30, and that was one of my missed teams. So I'm in pretty good position because, like I also said, I got all of my Elite Eight, Final Four, and National Championship game teams are all still in it. So we'll see if I can keep that streak alive tomorrow when the games start. I'm not too sure what time they start. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 games each day. So my guess would be that they'll probably start in the morning, maybe like 10. Probably 9 or 10. I know last weekend all the games started, or the first game started at 9, but this weekend probably, it might start at the same time, either 9 or 10. So we'll see. And I'm excited to see how it turns out. Also excited about baseball season. Basketball and hockey seasons are wrapping up. I believe each sport only has about, depending on the team, somewhere between 6 and 9 games left for the season. I believe both sports, their playoffs start in about 2 weeks or so. Currently, I actually in the background have the Vegas Golden Knights versus Colorado Avalanche game going on. Score is currently 2-4 with about 10 minutes left. Colorado they started the game off really strong. They took a 3-0 lead, and then in the second period, the Knights were able to cut the lead down to 3-2, and then the Avalanche ended up getting their fourth goal right before the end of the second period. So they're about halfway through the third period. Let's see if the Knights can come back and get this game at least to overtime, win or lose. They just need 1 point, and they wrap up. They clinch a spot in the playoffs. I feel like they've been sitting on that 1 point for about 2 or 3 games now. So, I mean, I'm sure it's gonna happen eventually, but they just need to hurry up and clinch that and wrap up a playoff spot. All right, well, thank you everyone for listening. Don't forget to follow me on social media. I'm on Twitter, Instagram. Also subscribe to my YouTube page, and subscribe and start following me on SoundCloud. I'm starting to upload all the episodes onto there as well. So you can either watch YouTube or just download the SoundCloud app and listen to me on there. All right. Thank you guys for listening. I'll try to get another episode out next week. All right. Everybody have a good night. Bye.